All right. Hey everyone, welcome on this rainy Saturday where I am. Hence, no barbecue grilling today. And wanted to do a quick show on politics. I haven't really talked Latin America much on this channel, so that would be the topic for today. We're going to talk Venezuela, Argentina, and Brazil, and see what's going on there with their well, governments, political systems. And let's see people. I put a poll up in the YouTube chat. Not maybe I'm assuming people weren't notified. Oh, we now have 26 watching. People have just jumped on, and let's see. Let's see how this poll goes. I'm very interested. I want to see at least 100 votes in the poll of whether you would have voted for Maduro or Gonzalez, the opposition candidate, because the real opposition candidate was not allowed to stand for election. How's my audio? How's my video? I'm working with not the best internet right now. Oh wow, I'm not even streaming in high def. Oh, probably because I'm not paying Zoom as much money as I used to. But that's okay. We're in 720. All right, sounds good. All right, looks like the opposition is so far winning with four votes being taken. Guys, just vote in the Twitter poll. I'm really curious. Okay, I'm gonna go to screen share. There'll be links in the video description, so go ahead and check those out. Let's go to screen share. Taking a sneak peek at the price of Bitcoin. Uh, to me, this looks super bad. I am back to a 100% cash position. I am gonna wait until a daily MRI buy, maybe a weekly MRI buy. Let's just say I have a very pessimistic view on Bitcoin at the moment. The stock market had a big crash yesterday. The stock market is in pretty weak shape. I remain fairly bullish on the stock market long term. But in the short term, this has been a very big drop, a very big drop here on the stock market. So let's see what happens next week. Mel, thanks for joining. And wow, so it looks like, oh no, Maduro's not winning. Maduro's at 25%. I don't vote in elections. Is basically I want to see the results. A lot of people are saying opposition. A lot of people really do not like Maduro. Well, as you probably shouldn't, because because the Western propaganda media has done a great job uh, of making sure everyone hates Maduro around the world. And I'm not saying Maduro's great, not at all. But my answer might surprise you a lot. Rate drop will help the stock market. No, it won't. It not really. I talk about that on my financial channel. The interest rate is irrelevant to the stock market, but we'll talk about that another time. Okay, ETFs, we're doing a lot of selling. I'm gonna, you know what, let's get on to the topic. This is a geopolitical channel. This is not a Bitcoin pricing channel. If you're interested in the price of Bitcoin or any other assets, please follow the Financial Summit social media. We have the Financial Summit YouTube channel right here. We have the Financial Summit Twitter, Financial Summit Instagram, and all of the other social media. Okay, let's talk about the election results in Venezuela. The election was last month, or I think it was in, it might have been in July. I don't cover live breaking news. I just do it when I get to it. These were the election results. Nicolas Maduro wins with 52%. Edmundo Gonzalez, the opposition candidate, got 43%. And then there were, a bunch of other candidates, some of whom got as much as 1.24%. If you look at the thumbnail, right? So a lot of people went crazy over what the media said. The media had all of these three guys, the next three guys, at 4.6% votes, which means that over 100% of the people voted in a presidential election. That was, of course, just an error by the Venezuelan media company. You can read into the conspiracy theories, and these were the final numbers. Now, this was, let me get rid of that. Okay. Let's briefly discuss the candidates. I'm not going to get into the history of Venezuela. Nicolas Maduro has taken over for Chavez, who was basically the socialist. That was the socialist takeover of Venezuela. And obviously, everything under Chavez went bad, and Maduro is basically Chavez's guy that took over. Now, here's what you guys have to understand before we talk about. Well, let me end the. I don't want to skew the poll. I really don't want to skew the poll. Only 20 people have voted, so I'm not gonna give away the lead here. Let's talk about briefly. Look, Nicolas Maduro, not the best guy, but we can look at his party, right? What is the party? So I am on Wikipedia. Wikipedia is a total propaganda machine. We're not looking at the opinions posted on Venezuela. We're just looking at some facts. So the facts are Nicolas Maduro is the United Socialist Party of Venezuela. So it's no secret that Nicolas Maduro, just like Hugo Chavez before him, are super socialist leaders. Socialist is another word for Marxist. It's another word for communist. Though communist implies an economic model, a socialist doesn't imply an economic model as much. It has lots of elements of economics, but basically, Maduro is part of the left-leaning Socialist Party of Venezuela. Now, what about his greatest opposition, right? The opposition candidate. Now, the opposition candidate is listed as an independent, nonpartisan political candidate, but that is not true, right? So this is where Wikipedia is already lying to you, right? So yes, he may claim to be an independent, but his alliance, right? So this is the alliance of the political system. Maduro's party is the Socialist Party. Now, the alliance of the Socialist Party is the old, Hugo Chavez's party. Now, look at the alliance of Edmundo Gonzalez. His alliance is the Democratic Unitary Platform, right? PUD. That's the that's also a left-leaning socialist affiliation. Okay, so what you have here is you have a left-leaning socialist leader of Venezuela going up against another socialist Marxist leader for Venezuela. Okay, he would not be part of the Democratic Party. The Democratic parties, they disguise themselves as, we're a Democratic Party. That means we stand for free election and democracy. That's an overtaking of the word. Anytime you see a Democratic Party running for election, just like in the United States, the Democratic Party is the Socialist Party of the United States. It's not the Democratic Party of, John F. K., even though it was still slightly more socialist than the Nixon's, Republican Party. However, don't confuse the word democracy. You have a left-leaning guy going up against another left-leaning guy. Now, let's dig into Edmundo Gonzalez a little bit more. I'm going to click on him here. In Wikipedia, Wikipedia, and we're going to see what kind of opposition he really is. While he was an ambassador of Venezuela to Argentina during, Hugo Chavez's reign. So, and over here, it will say, of course, Wikipedia will tell you that the results were falsified. Again, Wikipedia is a propaganda machine. See, following the Venezuelan government announcements of a Venezuelan politician, analyst, and diplomat who was a presidential candidate of the Unitary Platform Political Alliance, following a national and international political crisis developed. What is this reference to? Again, I wouldn't trust Wikipedia for anything. So he became the opposition leader, let me see, right here, after the National Electoral Council declared Maria Cornelia Machado, who won the 2023 Uniparty Platform presidential primaries, ineligible for holding political office in 2024. So he's basically a stand-in for Maria Cornelia Machado. We're going to get to her in a minute. Okay. Now, let's look at his history. And if you guys have watched me talk about the situation in Asia and Taiwan, the party that won in Taiwan is, an American plant. It's an American-backed opposition. Now, if you look at his history, you will see that his alma mater is Central University of Venezuela, American University. Okay, so American University is a private, federally chartered research university in Washington, D.C. Its main campus spans 90 acres of Ward Circle, mostly in the Spring Valley neighborhood of the Northwest. So what you have here is you have an American studied opposition leader. And if we look at the one they kicked out, what's her name? Machado. Maria Machado. If we look at her history, she did not attend an American university. She attended the universities in here it is. Institute, well, I'm not going to read the name of the university, is a private, nonprofit Venezuelan business school. Yes, the business school, that's good. With campuses in Caracas and Valencia. It was founded in 1965. Okay, but all you have to do on her here, right, is all you have to do is do Control F, and we can look for two things, right? We can look for World Economic Forum, or WEF. WEF, nothing. World Economic Forum. There it is, right? So even though Wikipedia is using her picture from the World Economic Forum, okay? So what you have here is the opposition to Nicolas Maduro is fully World Economic backed and American backed opposition. Remember, she and the guy that was actually standing for election, Edmundo Gonzalez, are just as socialist as Nicolas Maduro. There is one difference between her and him versus Nicolas Maduro, is that they are pro-American and NATO and pro-West opposition, where Maduro is not exactly pro-West. Now, the American sanctions have completely destroyed Venezuela. I have slightly changed my mind. Yes, Hugo Chavez was bad. I wish he was never elected. I think Venezuela would have been a lot better off had he not been elected. But a huge factor that destroyed Venezuela is not simply Hugo Chavez. It was also what America did to Venezuela because they were angry at Hugo Chavez and they remain very angry at Nicolas Maduro. So now that we have about 100 viewers, I'm going to give away the lead and then we're going to discuss it in more detail. And then after we talk about Venezuela, we're going to talk about Argentina and Brazil in the same light as we discuss Venezuela. If I had a vote, and this is probably going to piss off some of my friends, I have friends that literally flew from America to Venezuela because they were eligible to vote in the Venezuela election. And pretty much all the people that I know that are living in the West, especially the United States, and it's not that many, right? We're not talking a big sample size here. But, you know, the 3 to 5 people that I know that living in America that are Venezuelans, they were all rooting and voting for Edmundo Gonzalez, the opposition leader. At least one flew down to Venezuela to actually vote for Gonzalez. Now I have other friends in Latin America because I live in Panama, okay? And I have at least same thing, right? The Venezuelan friends that I have that do not live in America would have voted for Nicolas Maduro, right? This is the difference, okay? I'm not sure if one of my really good friends from Panama, I should have asked him, I don't think he flew down to Venezuela to vote, but had he flown down to Venezuela to vote, he would have voted for Nicolas Maduro. Even though he lives in Panama, he still goes back to Venezuela quite often. And one of these days, I do plan on going to visit Venezuela. Now, if I had a vote in the Venezuelan election, which I do not, I would have voted for Nicolas Maduro. And this is the big controversy that this is why Tone Vays is the ultimate contrarian. Whether we're talking, you know, Bitcoin space, geopolitical space, pretty much anything. Okay. Now, why would I vote for Nicolas Maduro over the opposition? The Argentina case is a little bit different. We're done with Wikipedia, enough propaganda for the day. I got a couple of articles here. Venezuela announces investments from BRIC countries, invites bloc to accompany July 28 elections. Okay, so this article is in the video description. You can go ahead and read it. And so basically, Nicolas Maduro is on very good terms with the BRIC countries because the Western countries like the United States continue to sanction him, including the confiscation of his jet. I don't even have an article here. It's in my thumbnail. Okay. Do I have an article here? I do not. U.S. confiscates Maduro plane, right? I mean, it was all over the news the other day, okay? The United States seizes the aircraft. You can go to images, you know, it's right there. We can go to The Guardian, any other publication as well, right? U.S. seizes Nicolas Maduro's jet and flies it to Florida. So this was in the Dominican Republic. Now, why did they do that? Now, the United States is contending the election. Now, the election was fairly close. Do I think that he actually won the election? This is an opinion. I don't have the facts on the ground. I didn't count the votes, but I do believe that Nicolas Maduro won the election. And from it's actually debatable. Again, I have Venezuelan friends, and there is a major bias here. Venezuelan friends that live in the West are pro-West. And the Venezuelan friends that I have that are living in Latin America are a little less pro-West, and they were a lot more pro-Maduro than the opposition. Do I think this election is fair? From what I hear, Venezuelan elections are actually not. I mean, they need IDs. They have some validation in the Venezuelan election. The results were out even sooner than the American election. By the way, the Duran did an excellent podcast on the Venezuelan election. This was about a month ago. It was soon after the election. I strongly recommend listening to this. Maybe we'll play a few clips of this in a bit, but definitely check this out. And the link is in the video description as well. There's not a lot of other stuff. I probably should check if they've talked about Venezuela. They talked a little bit about Brazil. I should link these in the video description. I'll probably add them later this week into the video description on Brazil and Argentina. But back to Venezuela, right? So the United States is really pissed that their socialists did not win the Venezuelan election, and the non-Western socialist won the Argentinian election. And I have another article here in Al Jazeera. Venezuela judge issues arrest warrant for the opposition candidate Gonzalez. Now, once again, don't read too much into it. The United States didn't only issue an arrest warrant for their opposition president, being Donald Trump. They didn't literally issue an arrest warrant, but the judge has almost threw Donald Trump in prison. That verdict is being delayed for the moment. So the United States is no different than Venezuela. They're trying to put the opposition president in prison as well. And the United States government has gone as far as to try and end the opposition president, which the Venezuelan government didn't even do. And yes, I am very convinced that it was an inside job on July 13th. I can't say too much because I don't really want to get this channel banned, even though that's where it's going. So unlike Venezuela, the current U.S. government administration went far and beyond trying to put the opposition president in prison. Luckily, they failed, but I think they'll try again. So don't think that the United States presidential election is all that different than Venezuela's, especially we all know how the last election results in America were fraudulent. Like, I know it, you know it, everybody knows it, and everyone's just, and most people are just afraid to admit it. I'm not. Hear the rain behind me, guys. So, that's Argentina stuff. We'll get to Argentina in a minute. So I have a couple of notes, and this is what I really wanted to discuss. I just made some notes right before the show. I'm going to go ahead and read this. What type of leaders drive economy of their country? And this is what I really wanted to talk about today. Now, make sure you don't confuse the leader's economic affiliation with the political government structure. There is democracy, which allows, countries to vote for their leaders. And then there is dictatorship, where there are no national elections, okay? The extreme, like the forms are, you have democracy. I mean, U.S. is a constitutional republic, but they call it a democracy, where in the United States and the European Union and most of the world, right? Most of the world, you have elections. You have a democracy. Venezuela is a democracy. Russia is a democracy. They have elections, okay? You may disagree with the candidates running for those elections, but there are elections in America, in EU countries, in Russia, in China. In Venezuela, there are elections. There are also dictatorships. These are countries that do not have elections at all. Saudi Arabia does not have an election. The UAE does not have an election. There's no change in rulers in the UAE. You know who's running the UAE. It's the 7 Emirates and the 7 families, with the family that controls Abu Dhabi as it's a monarchy, sure. I'm just summarizing. Sure, it's a monarchy, dictatorship, monarchy. Okay. Now, Just because you have a monarchy or a dictatorship doesn't mean that your country is bad and evil and people don't have opportunities. Okay? UAE is one of the most capitalistic countries we have, even though they're not a democracy. Okay? A country like, I don't know, Canada is one of the most communist Marxist countries we have, and they have elections, right? So, uh, these are very, very different things. Correct. We're not a direct democracy, but we do have voting, right? So Russia and China they're somewhere in between. They have elections. Now they pre-select their opposition, right? So if just like in Venezuela, Russia and China, yes, there are elections for president, but it's the opposition, a real opposition has a hard time getting on the ballot. Again, how is this different from the United States, right? The real opposition in the United States are people like Donald Trump. He's having a major problem getting on the ballot, right? They tried to assassinate him, for fuck's sake. Okay? Some people like Marie Le Pen in France, right? The government is trying to do everything they can to prevent Marie Le Pen from being able to stand for a proper election. People like Orban managed to get elected, and now it's hard to get them out. But trust me, the EU is trying. So what you have is, well, four different types of leaders, and then you have Turkey. Okay, so the different types of leaders that you have that are standing for these elections, you have socialists that are pro-NATO, capitalists that are pro-NATO, socialists that are pro-BRICS, and capitalists that are pro-BRICS. Okay, and this is where the interesting dynamic comes in, and it's on full display down in Latin America. Okay, so socialists are pro-NATO, so I should put Venezuela here. So this is right here, this is the opposition in Venezuela. Okay, this is who was running for president. The socialist that is pro-NATO versus what we currently have in Venezuela. This is Maduro. Okay, Maduro is, sorry, not capitalist, my bad. So right here, I have him here. This is Maduro. Maduro is a socialist that happens to be pro-BRICS. And the United States government has a big problem with a socialist that is pro-BRICS. Now, I also have to point this out. This is Bolsonaro. This is the former president of Brazil. I don't really know how to spell Barcel. Let me go to the Brazilian election. Hold on. Here. This was the Brazilian election 2 years ago. Lula is a socialist pro-BRICS president. Bolsonaro is a capitalist pro-BRICS president. Now, all capitalist systems and capitalists have an element of socialism, just like a lot of socialists have an element of capitalism. For example, the Biden family is completely socialist, right? But they had a capitalist business with foreign entities and foreign governments for presidential favors, right? So they love insider capitalism. Nancy Pelosi is a Marxist socialist, but she loves the capitalism side of insider trading in the stock market. Okay, so this is the kind of stuff that I really try to explain to people that come and watch this channel. So Bolsonaro, right here, oops, let's do paste without formatting. Oops. Paste without formatting. So Bolsonaro was former president of Brazil. So the one thing that the United States hates the most is this right here, okay? Is a capital the one thing that China shouldn't even be here actually. China is somewhere in between. It's hard for me to call China socialist. China is is really in between. Can actually put I can put China here again with an asterisk. Oops. China is a little tricky. China is a little tricky. Okay. This absolutely crushes the United States. The United States will back opposition the further up this chain it goes. Okay? And Turkey, if it's in the middle, it needs to be in the middle. Okay? The United States, the further up the list you are, the more United States loves you. USA wants the highest on this list. That's what the USA wants. The further down you are on the list, the more USA wants a regime change. Okay? Now, UAE and Saudi are not important, so the United States isn't really going after them much. Okay? Now, Maduro is here. America would rather have. This is why they're so hell-bent on getting rid of Maduro. I'm live, right? The thing didn't cut out, right? They're hell-bent on getting rid of Maduro because they can put their ultimate puppet in, a socialist pro-NATO president. Now, where does Javier Milei come in? Javier Milei. Javier Milei is here. He's a capitalist that is pro-NATO and pro-US, which is much better for the United States than having anyone that's pro-BRICS, whether they're a socialist or a capitalist. So prior, Venezuela was here. Sorry, Argentina was here. Argentina was here before Milei. So this is why America was pro-Milei, because they can get Argentina off of BRICS alignment and into the NATO alignment, right? And this is not a secret. Where are we here? Here. Milei surpasses expectations with strong economic performance and NATO partnership pursuit. So the moment Milei got elected, Milei got Argentina out of BRICS and into NATO. So America was more than happy to back Milei into this camp, capitalist pro-NATO camp. And guess what? The next time there is an election in Argentina, the United States will get off Milei unless he keeps doing what America wants him to do, and they're going to back Milei's opposition if that opposition is more socialist than Malay, but continues the NATO and pro-Israel stance, right? So we can put NATO and we can put pro-Israel. We can put that here as well. And pro-Israel, pro-Zionist. Let's put pro-Zionist. Okay? This is America will always back your opposition until they get their guy elected that is a socialist, aka Democratic Party, and on the NATO bandwagon and on the Israeli pro-Zionist bandwagon. They got 2 out of 3 with Malay. They got a pro-NATO, pro-Zionist president that happens to be a capitalist. Okay, they'll take it. They'll take it, right? Like U.S. will gladly take it. Now, in the short term, Venezuela Argentina. I keep getting them messed up. Argentina is doing really well economically. Argentinian stock market, like here, again, yes, I am using Mario's tweets. Stock market leads global growth. I have not fact checked this, right? However, if you go down and you look at the comments over here, Argentina aims to have the lowest economic growth in the entire region by 2024. On average, the World Map and other agencies project that the national economy will shrink by 3.2%, virtually all of the rest of the regional growth. Now, this should be taken with a grain of salt as well, because Malay cut a lot of government spending, and government spending contributes to a positive GDP. So just because your economy is contracting doesn't mean your economy is not on a good economic path, okay? So keep that in mind. But Javier Milei is pro-Israel, pro-Zionist, and he's also pro-NATO. He has rejected the BRICS invitation and has now filing for a NATO membership, okay? Now, what else is Javier Milei doing? Well, you can see it right here. It's a little speech. I'm just going to let the AI read it. Let me set this. Hold on. Turn on share computer sound. We'll do stereo. Let me know if the audio comes in nice and clear.
Look at the murderous dictatorship of the criminal Maduro in Venezuela. It's a human graveyard. They bring Christmas forward to October to cover up electoral fraud and imprison those who actually won. Meanwhile, the free world stands idly by. For evil to triumph, it only takes the righteous doing nothing. Lukewarm, politically correct positions and right-thinking centrism, just let the corrupt take us by the front.
All right, let me read this again because I wasn't paying attention. I was trying to increase the sound so I can hear it. Let's try this again.
Look at the murderous dictatorship of the criminal Maduro in Venezuela. It's a human graveyard. They bring Christmas forward to October to cover up electoral fraud and imprison those who actually won. Meanwhile, the free world stands idly by. For evil to triumph, it only takes the righteous doing nothing. Lukewarm, politically correct positions and right-thinking centrism, just let the corrupt take us by the front.
Okay, so Milei is now speaking out against Venezuela. He also canceled the BRICS membership. He's trying to get into NATO, and he's probably going to create lots of problems versus Brazil. Now, I'm going to get to this triangle of Venezuela, Argentina, and Brazil in a minute. Let's quickly talk about the crime in Venezuela. I should have pulled this up before. Venezuela. Well, oh, you know what? Most dangerous countries in the world 2024. Maybe 2024 statistics are already out. Okay. That's a little strange why Russia is so high. Let me see this. I saw a very different statistics. Hold on. Maybe it's murder rate per capita. Murder rate per capita. This is cities. Damn it. Right. This is what I was gonna look at, right? Uh, Here we go. Oh, I need more cities here. Where's the rest of it? Where's the rest of it? Where's the reference? Anyway, look, Jamaica's number one. It is an island, but it is a full country. St. Vincent's, let's factor this out. There's no people there. Trinidad is similar to Jamaica. St. Lucia is too small. Honduras, Bahamas shouldn't count. Belize, also small. Ecuador, Mexico, Colombia. Where's Venezuela? Right? Venezuela has dropped down to number 50 or 60 in the world. Okay? Country, what order is this? Total share of global murder rate by country in 2024. Okay. Why does it say 2021? Venezuela, right there, right? Oh, those are the total numbers. Total per 100. Can I sort by this? Okay, here we go. Here's the full list. Okay. But Venezuela is going down big time. The reason why Venezuela is going down big time is because they've sent all of their criminals to the United States and the open border. Okay. El Salvador used to be at the top of this list. They're not numbering them. It's the weather cut out my internet. I hope we're still live. We should still be live. Am I back? Am I back? Anyway, the crime in Venezuela is going down significantly. Now, let's talk about Brazil for a minute, and then I'm going to tie it all together. What is happening in Brazil right now is Brazil has replaced. Okay, I'm back. Good. Brazil has replaced. I have to go back to screen share. Brazil has replaced their capitalist pro-BRICS president with a socialist pro-BRICS president. The next step in the United States plan is to try and replace Lula, who is a socialist pro-BRICS president, with something further up the camp. They would love to go directly to a socialist, pro-NATO, pro-Zionist leader of Brazil, but they'll gladly take a pro-capitalist, a capitalist pro-NATO, pro-Zionist. They would gladly take a Malay to run Brazil. That is the master plan of the United States. Now, when I say socialist, to me, socialist is a left-leaning ideology, the Marxist communist type of ideology, but in today's society, it's disguised as a democracy through the Democratic Party. And they are fully on board with the globalist World Economic Forum agenda. Now, capitalism is also very tricky. There is no pure capitalism. All capitalism now has massive parts of socialism embedded into it. But however, a capitalist-leaning president is a little more free market, again, like a Javier Milei. He is a capitalist. And they are more religious. So this is why they're calling anyone religious, the far right, which is not true, right? Hitler wasn't far right. Hitler wasn't religious at all, right? And Hitler was pretty much a socialist. He was closer to a Marxist than he was uh, uh, fully right wing. It's really crazy calling Nazi Germany right wing. They were definitely more tyrannical and more. They were the Socialist Party of Germany at the time, but they are not as on board with the world economic agenda, right? They are more their own country first. So someone like Orban, someone like Marie Le Pen down in France, someone like AfD in Germany that are trying to get into the government. Okay, someone like Trump is more in this camp. Trump is not on board with the global economic agenda. Now, most socialist countries still maintain a private sector with business and land ownership, right? China is now allowing you private ownership of businesses and land. Russia is allowing you private ownership of businesses and land, okay? And as communist and as socialist as Canada gets, they still allow private ownership of companies and land. Now, in a place like Russia, in a place like Venezuela, certain industries are not fully privately owned. Like the military industry in Russia is owned by the government. The natural resources industry in Venezuela is owned by the government. Now, the United States really wants to replace the government of Venezuela so they can come and pillage the natural resources and the energy and the oil and the natural gas of Venezuela. This is the main reason why the United States government is so hell-bent on supporting the socialist pro-NATO, pro-Zion. Well, I don't know I don't know if they're pro-Zionist, the opposition leaders in Venezuela, but they're certainly going to be pro-NATO and they're pro-United States because the United States is paying for their campaigns through back doors of Soros and National Endowment for Democracy and all these other organizations. Okay, so the situation in Brazil is now at a point where, because the leader is, and that, if anyone has a gripe with the election and the election being potentially fraudulent, it's definitely Brazil. Okay, I've been to Brazil right after the election, and everyone I spoke to believes that it was a fraudulent election and Bolsonaro should have won by a big margin, but instead Lula somehow became president. He's still pro-BRICS, but he's a lot better for the United States and the World Economic Forum than Bolsonaro is, and Lula is really old, and America is going to work on this. Now, Javier Milei is going to, create problems between his country and Brazil because he's anti-Lula. He's anti-socialist presidents, okay? And that's going to be a big issue later. Now, a quick word on Turkey. Turkey is a member of NATO, but they have just filed to join the BRICS. Turkey wants it both ways. Now, Turkey, because Turkey is a member of NATO, the United States is also pushing for a different leader in Turkey. That's what the United States always does. They want their own guy in charge. And for Turkey, the United States of course, will take a Javier Milei, a capitalist pro-NATO, pro-Zionist, or in a perfect world, a pro-NATO, pro-Zionist socialist in Turkey who would be completely anti-BRICS. But with Erdogan, the NATO can't kick Turkey out. It's the second biggest military in Turkey, but eventually Turkey is going to join the BRICS, and they will be leaving NATO sooner or later. So I'm pretty much wrapped up here. It's super loud with the rain behind me. One second. So anyway, that's all I pretty much have to say. I'm going to look at your live chat. Feel free to comment. So basically, in my opinion, the opposition leaders, if they had won the presidential election, would probably be worse for Venezuela in the long run than the current path with Maduro. Now, I would love to see a capitalist pro-BRICS president run and win in Venezuela. But unfortunately, when you have a socialist in charge, they prevent capitalists from running, or they cheat to prevent them from winning. Okay. And the problem is, if these countries, Latin American countries and other countries, were more open, the United States would completely try and control them. This is what happened in Taiwan. In Taiwan, you have an elected leader that is a socialist pro-NATO leader in Taiwan right now, which is why it's causing havoc between Taiwan and mainland China. Okay. Also, this is the type of leader that got elected in the Philippines. This is not a talk on Asia. We will get back to this in terms of Asia. Okay. And the moment Pakistan elected a slightly more capitalist leader, Imran Khan, it all, hit the fan, right? And Bangladesh, this is the regime that's happening now in Ukraine. What was happening in Ukraine under the prior opposition? The prior opposition in Ukraine was in the Turkey-style camp, someone that wanted both sides, but slightly more capitalist pro-BRICS leader in Yanukovych. The United States couldn't have that, so they had to get rid of their slightly leaning capitalist pro-BRICS president in Ukraine, and they had to replace that president with their guy. And we all know Zelensky is certainly pro-Zionist, because he's been going there asking for money, though in reality he couldn't care less. He's definitely pro-NATO. Now, is Zelensky a socialist or is he a capitalist? Well, when he was an actor, he was slightly capitalistic. But remember, 99% of Hollywood is all Democrats. They're all socialists, right? So what you have right now in Ukraine is a pro-socialist, pro-NATO, pro-Zionist leader. And you see Ukraine going down the fucking toilet with their country potentially non-existing, okay? Non-existing at all. Now, in Israel, obviously, every single Israeli president is going to be pro-Zionist. That's a default position. But Israel has always had this type of leader that was more pro-capitalist, even though they're somewhat tyrannical, but they're somewhere in between the socialist and the capitalist, slightly leaning capitalist. Remember, they're more right wing. They're more religious ideology. They're less World Economic Forum agenda. They have their own plans of global domination. They are have ethnic traditions of the Jewish religion, ethnic ethnic traditions. Israel is putting their own country first. That's obvious. They have a greater focus on religion. They have a greater focus on their own borders, but they're obviously, pro-NATO. They're not pro-BRICS. So this is the type of leaders you have uh, in Israel with, a slight element of socialism. R.K. Henrik says it's Venezuela is an oddball, but will never vote for a communist. But they were both communist. You see, this is the problem. The election in Venezuela only had communist options, right? This is the one. So one communist party banned another communist opposition, because this communist opposition was going to be pro the United States and allowing the United States companies to come back into Venezuela and pillage Venezuela. And they were both communist. They were both socialists. This guy's also a pro-socialist. He came up under Chavez. They all were. Okay. They were both in the communist camp. So voting for opposition is not a vote for capitalism. It's just a vote for the United States' version of socialism versus the Maduro's version of socialism. And the reason why they're both equally bad, but Maduro's version of socialism has a lot more problems because he's not only fighting the capitalism, he's also fighting the United States, where this version of socialism will allow the United States to come in, will allow the United States to come in and control Venezuela. And the last time the United States has taken full control with their puppet president, you see what's happened in Ukraine. Okay, so any one of these countries is potentially the next Ukraine, whether it's Taiwan, whether it's Argentina, whether it's Venezuela, right? Yes, you may get rid of a president that's causing harm within your country, but you could potentially, but by allowing the United States to control your puppet president, you are opening up your country to be the next Ukraine in your region against a BRIC nation. Because on a big scale globalist picture, it's G7 and NATO versus the BRICS. And if the United States can destabilize a BRICS nation, the United States will always try to destabilize a BRICS nation. There is a BRICS nation next door to Venezuela and Argentina. Oops, I'm looking at the wrong map. It's called Brazil. And if the United States can destabilize Brazil, they will turn Venezuela and Argentina into the next Ukraine by creating a military conflict between these countries and Brazil. Okay? And since the United States was not able to put their guy in charge of Venezuela, they will be more than happy to have Argentina pick a fight with Venezuela. We can look at a global map. Neighbor Venezuela, so it's a little harder to get Argentina into a war with Venezuela, but they'll certainly help, right? Like Germany doesn't border Ukraine, but they're more than happy to send them weapons. Okay, so right now you have the president of Argentina talking a lot of shit about what's happening in Venezuela, mostly because his American and NATO friends are very angry that they couldn't put their puppet in Venezuela to start, a conflict with Brazil. But Argentina is more than happy to start a conflict with Brazil on their own, okay, by rejecting BRICS. Now, Venezuela is trying to join BRICS, and that's really pissing off the United States. And that's why Venezuela is near the top of the United States regime change list, along with any country in Southeast Asia, in order to destabilize China, another BRICS neighbor. Same thing with India. The United States wants, like again, Bangladesh just had a major issue where a United States-backed protest got rid of a more BRICS-friendly president. A BRICS-friendly president in Pakistan is rotting in prison. The United States does not want any country that is neighboring India to be on good relations with India because the United States wants to destabilize any BRICS nation. Now, India is like Turkey. They're trying to be neutral. They're trying to be on both sides of the divide. India should really be in Turkey's camp as well, but India is a direct BRICS member already, where Turkey is trying to be a BRICS member in the future. I hope this makes sense because I am going to wrap up this show. Any questions? How to choose between a communist and a socialist? Chris asks. The way you choose between two communist or socialist leaning parties is how much they will allow the United States to set the agenda for your country. Okay? Let's take North Korea as an example. Okay? If you have two tyrannical leaders of North Korea, both socialist, but one is doesn't allow America to dictate North Korean policies, and the other allows America to dictate North Korean policy. I would recommend voting for the one that does not allow the United States to make your policy decisions. Because if the United States allows to make North Korean policy decisions, they will make the decisions for North Korea that could potentially set North Korea on a war with either China or Russia, their direct neighbors. North Korea has three neighbors: South Korea, China, and Russia. These are their neighbors, right? So so a land war in North Korea would more likely take place between these three countries. Okay, right now, North Korea is on good relations with Russia and China. But if suddenly the government of North Korea got replaced with a United States approved and backed government, yes, North Korea would suddenly be on good terms with South Korea. Because remember, South Korea allows the United States to make their policies. And then it would be a Taiwan situation where North Korea would suddenly become adversarial to their neighbor China. And if North Korea becomes too adversarial to their neighbor China, China may come in with their tanks into North Korea, just like Russia went in with their tanks into Ukraine, because the United States has meddled in Ukraine to the point where Russia had to protect their, sovereign interests in order to, defend their country with a first strike effort into Ukraine. Okay? This is the issue. Now, I don't believe North Korea has elections. I have no idea. I don't know much about North Korea. Just like Venezuela, I want to go visit North Korea and see for myself what's going on. It's a little trickier to go to North Korea than Venezuela. I would love to see for myself what is going on there. But if you had to choose on who to vote for, Kim Jong-un or an American-backed opposition, it's going to be a tough choice. Because if American-backed opposition gets in, the next thing you know, China is coming in and you have a war with China. And you don't want a war with China. Nobody should want a war with China. But America has set Taiwan on a war with China by basically getting their people elected for the third consecutive election. All right. On this note, I'm going to call it a day. These were my views. The poll has ended, and only 15% would have voted. I ended the poll, but why can't you see poll results? I want to see the poll. Oh, there they are. Only 15% would have voted for Maduro, and I am the contrarian. If I had a vote in the presidential election between an American-backed socialist and the current socialist of Venezuela, I would vote for the current socialist of Venezuela. Because if Venezuela joins BRICS, BRICS will help stabilize Venezuela, I believe, in a better way than if an American pro-NATO, pro-Zionist person gets into Venezuela. Now, let's see how the future of Argentina goes, because I'm pretty sure the next president of Argentina is gonna be moved from the Javier Milei capitalist pro-NATO to a socialist pro-NATO. That is who America is going to back in the next presidential election over Javier Milei. And Javier Milei will not kick out the American NGOs. I hope he does, right? I hope Javier Milei gets rid of the American NGOs, but I don't think he realizes that the American NGOs will cause his downfall in Argentina. What's to say them joining BRICS? Doesn't mean they can just leave BRICS next election. They probably can. Okay. I don't know. No one has ever left BRICS because it's been to their economic advantage. But I guarantee you, if America elects their pro-socialist, pro-NATO, pro-Zionist president in Brazil, that president will try to leave BRICS. Now, there could be a coup in that country to prevent that president from, I mean, just because you have a president that is pro-NATO, pro their country into NATO, right? Like, for example, Zelensky is a pro-socialist, pro-NATO president of Ukraine, but he's not able to get Ukraine into NATO, right? He's trying, but he can't get them into NATO for reasons we talk about when we talk Russia-Ukraine. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this made sense, and I will see you all on the next one. Bye, guys. Unconfiscatable next week. Don't forget to come to Las Vegas. I totally forgot to shield that. Right here. Conferences unconfiscatable. All right, bye guys. in a week and a half.